Hi, welcome back to Faith and Conviction, and I'm your host, Ray Harris. I want to welcome you to this week's Torah portion. It is portion 18. It is from Shemot, or that's the Hebrew for names, which we know the book is Exodus. It's Exodus chapter 21, verse 1 through chapter 24, verse 18. The key word for this time is Mishpatim, and that translates into English as rulings. This is going to be a very interesting study, and it took me several hours to figure out how I wanted to try and present this, because the way in which certain things work when you go from the Hebrew to the Greek over to the New Testament and we come into the English, it provides some challenges because of the different ways in which the translators are working this. So I will freely admit up front that this was a difficult study because I had to find a way to narrow it down for a video. And there's going to be stuff I can't include in the video that affect my study and why I'm presenting what I'm presenting. So I want you guys to go to this webpage at faithandconviction.org and take a look at all of the information I'm going to have under this video about these words, because it is very vital, it's very important, and the Greek numbering, or I'm sorry, not the Greek numbering, but the Strong's numbering that affect the Greek words and why we do what we do with translation. So yes, today is going to be a challenge, and it was a challenge when I picked up this study, and it will be a challenge after I leave this study. But this is the beauty of God's Word. These are the things that happens when we study God's Word. So I entreat you to join me here. So this key word begins with Exodus chapter 21, verse 1, and this key word is the second Hebrew word in verse 1 of chapter 21. It connects by Strong's number. It is H4941. H4941. And it's Mishpat, which Brown Driver Briggs tells us means judgment, justice, ordinance. Now the eSword, King James Concordance, tells me that this word is found over 400 times in the Hebrew Old Testament. And most of the time is translated as judgment, judgments, but there's also other minor instances that get translated. Now, there's one interesting one that is found in Leviticus 24, verse 22, which is not in our Torah portion today, and it's abbreviated so we can just look at it, is, you shall have one manner of law. So manner of law translates this Hebrew word mishpat, and it is to Strong's number H4941. Now let's go back to our key word and our verse for our Torah portion. The King James here, remember, we keep it abbreviated so we can just focus on our key word. The King James says, "Now these are the judgments." And the Complete Jewish Bible says, "These are the rulings." And the Jewish Publication has it, "These are the rules." The Jewish Publication is this translation of the Torah. And I've made it mentioned it before in previous videos that, like these guys, these are Jews taking the Hebrew into English, and the Septuagint that was translated about 200 years before Jesus was born was Jews taking the Hebrew into Greek of their day. So just like these Jews know what they're doing, the Jews of that day knew what they were doing when they were translating the Bible. These guys are scholars. These gentlemen understand the text, they understand the language, they're trying to take it over so readers can understand. So we'll come back to this because this is going to have our Greek that we're going to look at. But the word judgment is found in Exodus 21:31 and also again in Exodus 23 verse 6. So in chapter 21 verse 31, the King James has judgment. The Complete Jewish Bible uses the word rule, and the Jewish Publication says rule. Now I abbreviated it this time because we're going to spend some time talking about this word. You'll see why I'm really making it short up front. But in Exodus 23 verse 6, the King James has the judgment. The Complete Jewish Bible uses the word justice. And the Jewish Publication Society, this one, translates it a little bit different. It says, "You shall not subvert the rights of your needy in their disputes." Now that's a very different translation than the others, but it is significant. I will have these verses under this video at faithandconviction.org. So you have more questions, you want some more answers, please visit that page. But now let's go back to Exodus 21 verse 1 and look at the Greek. Because the Greek of the Old Testament has it this way. Kai, tauta, ta, dikaiomata. Now let's slow it down so we can get it all pronounced. But it is that last word that we want to look at. Dikaiomata, which is connected to Strong's. Strong's numbering is G1345. G1345. Now those of you who watch the video know that I'm talking about Moses and I'm talking about Messiah, and I'm trying to connect all the things from the Old Testament into the New Testament and show why all these things are important and why these teachings are vast and they're vivid and they really mean something. So why do I spend so much time with the Hebrew language, the Greek language, and the English language? Well, this one will show you why you should know these languages, or at least have the ability to go into something like eSword and start connecting it and studying it. Because the way in which you translate a word matters, because it gives a vibe for what the word means, an influence or a flavor. And depending on how you want to flavor that word affects the way you interpret the Bible. Now, when we're reading your favorite translation, it doesn't matter if it's the Message or if it's the King James or if it's the New American Standard or it's something else. If you're reading that Bible and you don't see what the Greek or the Hebrew word is behind it, you have to accept as true what the translator puts on the page. You have to accept with faith that they're doing the right thing. Now, I'm not saying these people are doing the wrong thing. I'm simply saying their word choice affects why we argue about things in the kingdom. Because word choice matters, doesn't it? So if word choice didn't matter, politicians wouldn't argue. That's a side argument. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about the word choices for translations. So let us go over to the Greek, G1345. It connects over to dikaioma. It's a noun. Yeah, I slow down the pronunciation. It's okay. Thayer tells us this, that dikaioma means that which has been deemed right, what has been established and ordained by law, an ordinance. And there's also a second definition, a righteous act or deed. But that when you look at Thayer and you look at the first definition, he goes, this point and subpoint, point, he's got a very detailed definition. And I just abbreviated it. So in eSword, when I'm looking up how many different times this word appears in the New Testament, it tells me that it was there 10 times. It's translated as ordinances, judgment, judgments, righteousness, and justification. 5 times of these, it's in the letters of Paul. And it's once translated judgment, 3 times it's translated righteousness, and 4th, it is called justification. Now I want to establish up front that the translators who took the Hebrew into the Greek said that this word means rules or ordinances. That's what we have back here. It's a judgment, it's a justice, an ordinance. That is exactly one of the definitions that Thayer really specifies on. That it is that which has been established and ordained by law, an ordinance. And that is critical in understanding Paul. And I'm going to prove this as we go through it, and it's an interesting thing. So I'm asking you to give me a few minutes because I want us to see this.